And we are live. Hi, we have here on the Supply Chain Channel podcast, we have Nicole Dixon
Hello.
of Offload. Nice to have you on.
Thank you.
All right. So, kind of like, went through your LinkedIn, like looked through your career, which is a long storied career in many fields. Logistics is kind of the big thing in there. Wanted to point out, you were was it Pixel in Singapore?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you there?
I was in Singapore for 18 months, but I lived overseas for 15 years before I came back to Australia to work for Offload.
Oh, wow. So where have you been? So I'm from Singapore. Part of my life was in Singapore. So I was like, oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, you've been there. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So I left Prague to go to Singapore. When I worked for Pixel, they wanted to start Asia Pacific. So I took on the Managing Director Asia Pacific role, built out the team there. I was living in Prague with my dog, Bill, and Singapore's the only country in Southeast Asia you can take a dog and still bring it back to Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I chose to live in Singapore and not in Bangkok.
Okay. All right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a whole side story I won't cover with Captain Jack Sparrow and his dogs. But okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, as kind of like discussed earlier, what was interesting to have you on this podcast is that maybe to an untrained eye or someone who's a bit of a novice, it does feel like, there aren't as many women in logistics and supply chain as there are men. It seems to be a very male-dominated industry. So glad to have you representing. So do you find that that's the case?
I think I have a tendency to work in male-dominated environments. I started out in tech. The same thing applies.
Yeah.
So now I've got the double whammy, tech and logistics.
Yeah.
I think it's the nature of those industries. I think women have an absolute aptitude towards it, but tend to sort of go into more creative roles. So I'm lucky I work in a company, Ofload, that is very embracing of diversity. I don't feel isolated as a woman, but I'm always very happy to represent.
Yeah, okay. So, with that in mind, the International Women's Day is just around the corner, 8th of March, and it's a typical time where we start reflect here on the Supply Chain Channel. We also want to kind of get diverse voices, especially in this male-dominated industry. So maybe to start there, what would you say, as in if let's say there are female listeners or audience that want to enter this male-dominated world, what advice would you share with them? What advice would you give from your point of view?
Always be authentically yourself. For me, gender is irrelevant. And if you operate from a place where you're trying to compensate for gender, then you're never going to authentically be yourself. So I always counsel everyone, women, men, anyone who works for me, that authenticity is the number one. Having said that, some young women will struggle to find a voice in a male-dominated environment, and I would just counsel them to remember we're all people. We're all smart. Anyone can have a great idea, and to just keep pushing forward. Don't take a back seat. I've never taken a back seat.
All right. Great words of wisdom. So let's get into some of the other things that so was there during your talk. We kind of did some bit of research. So wanted to know what was the pivotal moment in your career that led you to retail fulfillment and logistics? You said you've worked overseas, you did 15 years and you were in Prague, and how did this kind of how did you end up here?
In my career, and it was very kind of you to say earlier, I think length of time. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years now, so let's be honest. I'm 60 years old, so I've been around a bit.
Tell, yeah.
And so I've always liked to go into industries where you can disrupt. One of the best places that technology gets to shine is when you can point technology to a problem that needs to be solved. I don't believe in technology for technology's sake. And when I looked at the offload opportunity in an industry where technical adoption is extremely low, I knew that my skill set, my capability, my passion is something that I could point towards this industry in Australia and make a difference. So it's about me finding opportunities to get to do what I like but add value and meaning. And technology really is an opportunity for us to reshape the Australian logistics industry for the better, whether it's safety, sustainability, margin improvement, empty miles. Technology can support in all of those things, whether it's the long tail of the industry where smaller carriers, don't have the opportunity to invest in technology to compete. There's opportunity across the board for Offload and someone like me to make a difference in that industry,
All right.
which is why I'm here.
Knows you're here. During your talk, you asked a very interesting question, and I think it would be great if you could ask it. You were saying that there was I might be paraphrasing it wrong. What was the item that was shipped most in Australia? Is that right?
Yeah. The most shipped product in Australia is air.
Yeah.
So what I just find that a very compelling statement. People will throw stats at you, empty miles, empty trucks, sustainability that, carbon this, carbon that. But if you really visualise air as a product, you start to see empty trucks on our roads. And that enables you to then go, hang on, that's a problem. Not just from a sustainability perspective, but from a cost, a optimisation. So our goal is to reduce empty miles, to stop air being a free product that we move around on the roads in Australia. So.
Yeah, that's just caught me dead. I'm like, yeah, that is exactly what we are doing. Is in trucks are shipping nothing, and that is a lost opportunity. So I think that was really stark way to point out what Offload is doing and what's necessary in the industry. So maybe then also another way. What would be? Do you think there are any personal qualities that you have or that people should have to succeed in retail fulfillment?
Resilience is a definite one, and creative thinking.
Yeah.
I find in every industry that I've gone into that, you look to be a disruptor, you have to be resilient, you have to be creative. It's very easy to say, come up against, we've tried that before, it didn't work. Well, let's try it 3 more times and maybe it will work, So that's one of the most important things for me. I with the Dataverse product that we recently launched, was one of the first ideations I had when I joined Offload, and people were like, shippers will never give you data beyond blah, blah, blah. It'll never work. And here we are, highly successful. So that resilience and creative thinking, if you believe in something, just keep pushing. You'll get there eventually.
All right. And maybe those are not just specifically for retail, but that's just anybody, any role. Yeah.
Any technical adoption environment that you find yourself in every industry, it's exactly the same.
All right. So how do you stay updated on what's the latest innovation in fulfillment logistics? At this show alone, there's so many different technologies, so many new buzzwords that were being thrown around. So how do you keep being at the forefront of what's new?
You have to be a sponge, right? So you take every opportunity to listen, learn, read, digest. But at the same time, you've got to be discerning. So I get access to a lot of information, a lot of partnerships, a lot of activity in the industry, and I take it all in, but I probably keep 20% of it. Because latest buzzwords don't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
You need them in order to be able to engage in conversations, but I don't like to invest in them. I like to keep it simple. So absorb, listen, learn, but only keep about 20%, retain 20% and turn that into reality.
Yeah. So speaking about buzzwords, so there was something you said on stage, something about that.
Did I do a buzzword?
No, not in a bad way. But also because as you said, you go to, when you attend the event or anything, you would have a lot of information thrown on you, and then 20%, the key things I'll take away was something about
DIFOT?
Yeah, definitely.
I get in trouble with this one.
That's why I'm here. I want to find what's good, what's interesting.
You asked before about what do you need to do to influence an industry. Being radical is another part of resilience and creativity. Sometimes it's like the air comment, right? That creates a real visual for someone. It doesn't mean that we actually pay to move air. Well, we do. But it's a way to visualise and deliver a message. One of the controversial things I say is that I don't believe in DIFOT, which is our industry standard. And I joke when I say it because for every single customer we report DIFOT, which is delivered in full and on time.
Yep.
But what I was saying today, in a customer-led industry like retail, time is the non-negotiable. And when time's the non-negotiable, sustainability, safety, optimization goes out the window. So people hear that time and time again, but there's no trigger for them to sort of walk away from this event and keep it as part of the 20%. So I like to be a little bit radical and say, I believe in die fast, not DIFOT. Not to die fast or die quickly, but delivered in full and sustainably and and on time. So
A mouthful, but yes, the die fast.
Die fast. It's just a hook
Yeah.
to get my team to constantly think about how do I integrate safety and sustainability into that time metric.
Yeah. Sustainability is the challenge of all times, especially in logistics, in fulfillment. So maybe the question like, so how do you guys do it? As in, everybody says that they are trying to push towards that goal. How does Offload handle that, like, bit into push that into your own business?
Through culture, you have to have a desire. You've got to really believe. And technology. The only way we are going to shift moving air to moving product is understanding the volume of product that's being moved, where it's being moved, and being able to analyse it.
Yeah.
If you can't analyse and report on something, you can't fix and improve it. And one of the biggest challenges in this industry is data's fragmented. It's fragmented within a single customer. So you'll have a customer with, 300 different points in their supply chain, 10 different information systems. So having a single view of data inside one single business is difficult, let alone across an industry. So continually driving that data aggregation model, and internally that's where we focus. We focus on the more volume we have, the more data we have, the more we can optimise. Looking at opportunities to fill a truck, whether that's changing how many times we pick up and drop off, whether it's, you've got a customer where an empty truck's coming into a warehouse delivering raw materials and leaving, and then an empty truck's coming in to pick something up. Well, hang on.
Yeah.
You just had two empty trucks going past each other in the driveway.
Right.
How do we improve that? The only way to improve that is to be aware of it. And that's where data comes in.
All right. Yeah. And another thing that another key theme, being here for the past 2 days at the Retail Fulfillment Summit, is customer experience, customer expectations. As in that is a core part. Like what you mentioned earlier. Just time is a non-negotiable. So people start messing with everything else. So how do you balance all that, and of course keep up that or try to achieve the Amazon maxim of under promise, over deliver? How do you guys do that?
I think there's two answers to this question. One is, what does Nicole believe in personally, and what does Nicole do professionally? Personally, my mantra in life is we need to be citizens before consumers. And I would love nothing better than to think we live in a world where time doesn't become the fixed element, where I will be patient enough to wait another 24 hours for that cool thing I just bought because I know it's going to go on a full truck and that's a sustainable outcome.
Yeah.
So that's Nicole personally, citizen before consumer. The reality of that doesn't exist today. So the reality of Nicole from a business perspective is our customers have end customers who are consumers where time is non-negotiable. So the best thing we can do is look at how we improve around that fixed asset. So if time is the fixed component, then volume, truck size, route optimizations, like all of those other things, all the other levers that you have at your disposal need to be pulled in order to leverage some level of sustainability.
Yeah, for sure. So here, in your experience, so what is the key to achieving a balance between speed, cost, efficiency, and customer satisfaction? You want to do well in everything, but we will say we have infinite wants, but limited resources. What is maybe the question, and then what is ranked in that way?
I like to pull the traditional project management model for this one, where you can have three things in a project: time, scope, and budget. What two do you want?
But yeah.
Because you can't have
one.
all three,
exactly,
right?
yes.
And it's the same here. If time wasn't a mandatory, then we could pull other levers more quickly. But while ever you have these four things circling around, you can't have all four of them.
Yeah.
One of them creates a fixed point. And in our industry, I don't know a single customer where time isn't the fixed point.
Yeah.
So if time shifted and, sustainability was the fixed point, then optimization would be done very differently, but we can't address all four at once. We've got to pick which one's the fixed.
Yeah. So last theme that I will throw at you is AI. That I've spoken to quite a number of guests, and they all have differing points of view around what that is. So how does AI apply to Offload and maybe as an industry? Because AI is typically a buzzword that you throw it around. It's machine learning masking as AI. It's basically a human doing the work and then pretending that it's AI, or just large language models or generative AI. So how do you think AI is applicable to the overall fulfillment industry, and also do you guys have a take on how that works for you guys?
I guess there's two ways for me to respond to this. There's Nicole the citizen and Nicole the professional. The first thing I would say is AI is not scary. It's not intelligence for intelligence sake. For me, AI is latest generation technology and programming. And continuous learning is just throwing more data at a programming language or a programming environment so that it can learn and iterate. So it's just advanced technology. It's just advanced programming. There's nothing scary or sci-fi about it from my personal perspective. From a professional perspective, it's an opportunity to work with very large volumes of data and to understand and interpret that data quickly and then feed that back into a model. So again, it's programming on steroids, for want of a better word. We're using AI, or what I would call advanced programming, and for recommendations engines. That's how you get route optimization in real time. 10 years ago, that would have been impossible.
Yeah.
Because the ability for us to be able to write programs that could process that volume of data so quickly and interpret that data so quickly was impossible. Whereas now we're able to handle huge, vast volumes of information, write programs that can ingest more and spit out more results. So yes, we use it. We use it in many aspects, whether it's optimization, whether it's processing emails, whether it's running reports, improving tender processes, standard questions. It can be used many, many places. One of the key ones that we've found is definitely using it in terms of recommendation. But we will always, no, I shouldn't say we will always, I hate the always, every, never statement. Currently, we put what we call a human filter, though, in front of it. So our technology internally makes all of these recommendations, but a human makes the final decision.
Yep.
My brother's a pilot, and he says the same thing. Planes can land themselves now, but we're just far more confident if a human's behind the wheel. So again, there will always be that need for human interpretation of that last mile.
Yeah.
I just rambled then, I know, sorry, but it's a very large topic.
No, it is.
Very large.
I'm not saying that there is a right answer, but it's what is your answer? And I appreciate the viewpoints, as I said, as a citizen and then as a professional.
And as a professional, as long as it's not technology for technology's sake. That's my biggest bugbear in, my 40-year career is technology's here to solve problems for us, not to be a solution in itself. So as long as we're solving problems, as long as we're improving the way we operate, as long as we're adding value, then, languages like AI and these types of evolving machine learning add value to our everyday business lives.
Yeah, okay. So you've been around the show floor, been to a few talks, I imagine. And what are any, are there any innovations that you have seen that you actually, genuinely excited about, or think that could be somewhat of a game changer?
I don't think there's any one thing that's a game changer. I think everyone's talking around the same thing that is game changing.
Yeah.
And that is optimization, whether it's route optimization, order optimization, fulfillment. There's this real need for the industry to look at every point in the supply chain and look at ways to optimize. Now, I don't see anything currently that's massively game changing. I think partnerships is where it's really going to evolve. Like if no one provider is everything, and a willingness for people like suppliers at an event like this to collaborate together in partnership to solve big problems is where I get excited and interested.
Okay, so changing the pace, we're going to talk a little bit, ask a few more personal questions. I want people to know, touch a nerve there. Don't worry, I won't be, not that personal, just kind of personal / professional. So what is a relaxing day in Nicole's life?
That's easy.
What do you do?
I go to a fresh produce market and buy random fresh produce, and then I go home and spend several hours cooking it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my day.
All right.
I love being in the kitchen. I just love experimenting with food. It's very tactile.
Yeah.
Takes me to hand creativity, not mental creativity. And I'm a feeder. I love nothing better than, a long table and I present food to people.
Oh, so what's your best dish? Just put you on the spot.
The most creative dish I ever made, I made in Singapore actually, and I was bored one day, and I thought, can I make apple risotto to serve with pork? And so instead of using stock and heating stock, I used apple juice, and made this beautiful apple and cabbage risotto to serve with pork belly. It was divine. Trouble is, I was the only one there to enjoy it. So that's probably my most creative. My standard, I think, would be shared, like a long table of shared. At Christmas, I'm called the Queen of Sides, you know. There's one ham and then 20 different sides. So lots of vegetables and salads.
Really nice. My best dish is a PBJ. It's
one of them. Yeah, that's great.
That's it. So yeah, I'm not the best person to be making lunch boxes for the kids. All right, then what do you have you read a book recently, or any book that you have read that you feel like the audience should read, that it's a must read in your mind?
Not recently. It's funny, we've just been through professional development and performance planning with my team at work, and often during that process I'll recommend books for people depending on where they are in their learning cycle as leaders or business visionaries. And three that I always go back to actually. One is Good to Great. I think it's a fabulous read.
Yeah, Collins, yeah.
Absolutely fabulous read.
Second person on this channel who've said so. I agree.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, yeah.
One of the others, I'm also a firm believer in learning what not to do is often more important than learning what to do. So observing people around you and working out whether their style and how they approach something would be authentic for yourself, because if it's not, don't do it. It becomes dysfunctional. Yeah. And there's another great book I recommend that's called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which basically shows you how to look out for the things that aren't going well. We spend so much time in personal development looking at, latest Sigma this and that and whatever, and we forget to go back to the basics and really understand what dysfunction looks like. Yeah. So that's a really good one. And then a really, really old one that I pull out every now and then, which is Who Moved My Cheese? Which is a very small satirical book on change and, how each of us handles change, because I work in technology and it changes every day. So you've got to be adept. It goes back to that resilience and creativity. So they're probably the three that I there's many others in between. But
yeah, okay. I'd like to give you a bit of time to do a plug for Offload. So what is it what is Offload, and what is it that you would like people to take away from and the like? So yeah, you got 30 seconds perhaps?
Okay, great. I think I'd probably plug it differently from our salespeople. Offload is a partnering organisation, right? We like to work with both sides of the industry, both the consumer, the suppliers, the retailers, and the fulfillment, the network, the carrier network, to actually really innovate and change the industry. Our service, our technology, it does BAU, right? If there's something that you want a logistics system to do, our system will do it. That's not what I get out of bed for in the morning. That's not what most of the people at Offload get excited about. What we get excited about are the big electric truck projects we're running, right. The optimization projects that we're running, projects like Dataverse, where we're really pushing the envelope. So I think if people want to work with an innovative company that takes care of BAU today but will partner with them in really driving change in this industry, then we're the company you should be working for.
All right. Last question. Answer as quickly. First thing that comes to your head. What was the last thing you bought online?
Oh, let's see. I'm not an online shopper. Very rarely do I buy online.
Oh, it's a bit interesting.
It sort of goes back to the authenticity of be a citizen before a consumer. Not that I'm anti-online in any way, shape or form. I have bought online, clearly. But I dislike the time neediness that comes with online.
Yeah, we would talk. This is kind of that we keep going over that. Yeah.
So it's not that I'm anti-online. It's just not my go-to. So I'm trying to think, what was the last thing I bought online? It was obviously a while ago.
Yeah, well, back.
Probably tickets, actually.
Tickets.
So less.
There's no waste. It's tickets.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, that's good. Well, Nicole, thank you for the time.
You're
I
welcome.
think I had a great conversation with you, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.